Today, I'm going to talk about one of the formulas, or part of the formula for Renaissance festivals and how and why they work, and how that ties to the food program. What we do at Renaissance festivals is we take people out of the familiar. We put them in an imagined 16th century village that's way more imaginary than realistic. I mean, we don't want to do a reenactment park. We don't want sewage running in the streets, and we like having running water. But part of getting people out of the familiar is taking away the things that are their norms. So if we have people in clothing that is not as familiar, and they're surrounded with people speaking in a manner that's not familiar, then that helps to transport our guest. And our food program does that by not offering fast food, what people are going to eat on the regular. There's enough stuff there to keep your kids happy. There's going to be pizza somewhere, and somebody's going to have chicken strips and fries. But for the most part, you won't find hamburgers and hot dogs at a Renaissance fair. You're going to find turkey legs. And turkey legs aren't 16th century foods. The turkey's a New World bird, but you kind of hold yourself different when you're eating them. They're almost a costume piece as much or more than they are a food item, although they can be really delicious. The idea of shaking up people's normal patterns is part of how they're able to use their festival experience as an escape from the mundane, as an escape from their regular world. As you know, the Texas show, on their logo is "Lift Up Your Cares." That's what we're trying to do. We want to give some people an escape and let them have a day as their imagined selves. You know, their first visit, they're going to wander around and look for the familiar, and then they're going to buy something close to that to feed themselves and their kids. And then the second time they come, they might decide that they are ready for some costume. They might show up in costume. They might, plan to spend the whole day in a costume and be this imagined version of themselves. And there's not a lot of places people can do that. I mean, even at Disney, you can't come as a character. That's part of the protection they have so that people know who they're dealing with and know that they're dealing with cast. That's how the whole Disney bounding thing started, which is almost a costume, an outfit inspired by a character. But at Renaissance festivals, we'll let people dress as elaborately as they like to come to the show. And usually there's some kind of insignia on a costume that will let our guests know that the person they're interacting with is a certified, I don't know what word I'm looking for there, an actual member of the cast at the show. But because Food and Beverage is trying to help this shakeup of people's norms, we as food and beverage vendors have to be looking for new items all the time. We're not gonna just go, oh, spicy chicken sandwiches are trending, let's put those in 3 places. No, we're going to food shows, we're traveling to other cities, we're traveling out of the country, looking for some kind of thing that we can sell. We've got to be able to produce it pretty efficiently because of the numbers that we deal with at the shows. But we're looking for something that's delicious and also different. And not different, has to be different. It needs to be different from the everyday. It needs to be different from what people could pick up in a drive-through on the way home. So there are not any trade shows for our specific industry. There's weird edges of trade shows that overlap. So we can go to a outdoor events trade show, or we could go to a restaurant trade show, or we could go to a bakery trade show and hope that we can steal one idea that makes it worth the trip. This week, my husband and I are in Chicago. We just did 3 very long days of walking at the National Restaurant Association show. And there's huge swaths of that are not applicable to us. I don't need tabletop. We aren't we don't have front-facing equipment. So a lot of that stuff that's designed so that the public can interact with the technology, that doesn't apply for us. So we always hope that we can find something. I did find some good suppliers. And you also just kind of hope for some flavor inspiration, like what flavor combinations have I not thought of, right? And we might have got a couple of those too. But for the most part, that's one of the things, the piece of the formula that food and beverage slides into. By and large, a larger percentage of the guests, even on their first trip, are going to interact with food and beverage, even if they aren't ready to go into shops and start shopping, because they either didn't know there was going to be shopping there, or they're not into it enough yet to want to look at costume, or whatever the reason is, or they really just came for the shows and trying to keep their kids occupied, and they don't think their kids will be patient enough to go through a shop. But those folks are going to interact with food and beverage, and so food and beverage does their part to keep people from sliding into complacency and sliding into automatic. And so the best food programs have people innovating every year, bringing in a new item or two every year, changing up flavor profiles on anything that has slowed down as far as people are not ordering that item as much, and just kind of trying to keep it both fresh and innovative and pretend it's 400 years old.